Hello. Welcome, welcome. So excited to see you again. Just letting everybody roll on a little bit. Enjoy the music. I think I had it turned off. All the little buttons you got to pick. Okay, so good. All right. All right, here we are. Welcome to day 2, desire not require. Doesn't that even feel better? Can you just like want everything and not require it? And just like allow. So I am so excited. Thank you so much. I got some amazing feedback from some of you yesterday and today, and some additional takeaways and such. And it just really lights me up to know that there's a receive, right? I just transmit and you either receive it or not, right? You're either picking it up what I'm laying down or not, and that's okay either way. But it's just a beautiful exchange for sure. And I am really thrilled. Today we're going to dive into the additional 2 perspectives, as I'm calling them, the last 2 of 4. And we'll start with a little review and kind of move us into what we covered yesterday. If anybody was not here on day 1, that's okay. You'll still get what you get today on day 2. However, you're more than welcome to go back to either the recorded version on my Facebook page, my personal profile. I'm also uploading those to YouTube. I'm going to put them in my app, BraveView app. And anyone aware of that. And of course, if you're registered, you're going to get the replay and recap and transcription and all of the goodies as well. So it's something that no matter what time you receive it, you're still present to the message. You're still present to, it's almost like we don't need to worry about being live, right, on these experiences. Because whenever it shows up for you, whether it's a video recording or not, I mean, I watch things from 5 years ago and I'm like, this is the time. And that's the beautiful blessing we have of video and recordings, and that the message can continue to live on for the perfection of the timing that it's supposed to show up for you. So I do believe all of it's divine timing, no matter what, recorded or live. And I'm just grateful for your participation today, no matter where you are. So let's start with a little interaction. I really want to hear, number 1, put a 1 in the chat or comments if you in fact did the homework, right? 50 desires. Maggie says yes, awesome. Put a yes, 1, something in there just so I know where everybody is. And if you didn't, there's nothing wrong about it. It was just, I just want to be aware. So we can ask a couple questions about how that went for you. So Stephanie, what was that like? And you can open up, you're in my circle, my family. So if you want to open up, that would be amazing. And share with me what that was like. Hello.
Well, I have to confess, I cheated.
You cheated. How do you
cheated?
Cheat? How you cheat? No.
How do I cheat?
Right.
Because I added to the list that we did in our retreat.
Oh, in the retreat.
Leah and Carolyn. Yeah.
Yes.
So
you had,
but I did. But I went over it again and added some things, got more precise with things. So it's now about 60.
Now it's 60.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, got it. Was it a stretch? Was it easy? What's the feeling?
It was easy.
It was easy.
It's
excellent.
Yeah. It's almost like, I liken it to, when you're stretching before exercising as opposed to stretching afterwards, it felt like stretching after exercising.
Right, you're all warmed up.
Yep, all warmed up. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And yes, you know, you've certainly been in my space. We did do it at the in-person retreat, right? And it's just, can you keep adding? Make it 100, right? Obviously, you know, like there's how many millions and billions and trillions of possibility that our mind cannot even concept, but it's available to us. So, you know, like 50, if you're just starting out, can feel like a stretch. 60, great. Move it to 100, make 200. Like, how big can you actually dream and desire bigger and bigger? And I say start small, because sometimes that's where we begin. So give me a couple examples of what you put down. Especially when you reviewed it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me look at that. I added to it because I'd forgotten with the relationships. I added, spend more time with my friends. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got my family here, but where are my friends? So I put that in. So I added that. And then I got more specific on, where was I? On some places to visit where I want to travel to. And so, yeah, I added a couple more countries and there are countries I've been to, but I want to go back or go somewhere different. And that's Hawaii and Ireland, because there's so much more I want to do there. So do and be. Yeah.
And you've been there many times, as we know. But yes, it's like, and remember, every time it's like when we go to visit location, like a physical location, we are bringing us newly to it.
Yeah,
we're bringing the current self, right, the current identity, right, to that new experience. Therefore, it's new. So, we had the retreat in Destin, Florida, and of course, I've been there multiple times. I'm from Texas. I'm from Houston, if anybody doesn't know that. And my college roommate, my best friend lives there. And I would go visit. First trip was I house sat for her, and I get to do it again this May. But I went there for that purpose. And then I realized, because I live by the ocean was my intention, my desire. And 6-7 years ago, or no, even longer than that, goodness, because my timeline's off. But anyway, and then what I saw is possibility from that one experience is I could live here every summer for a month. And that is what my daughter and I did every single summer for about 4 summers after that experience. And then I live by the ocean became an even more physical observation. And that's when we moved to California, and I live in Redondo Beach. And so 1 mile from the beach, right? And so it is, and I didn't see that. I didn't see California as in my purview. Like, that wasn't the possibility at the time. And then that came in 2018, 2019, and then we made a decision. We took the action. There was a knowing, there was a belief it was possible for me. And so thank you, Stephanie, for sharing all that. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Truly.
Welcome.
And
I've added some more as we've been talking.
Perfect. Yeah, keep adding. So very, very good. And I'm gonna, mute you. Thank you. So when I created the intention, the desire, I live by the ocean, right? These things started to show up that I didn't even know how I was going to live by the ocean, right? The how is not our job. The how and the when and the what. HW3 is an ego trick. It's one of the realist, if anybody's a realist, I am. And that HW3 it's so full of limitation and resistance, because if you don't know how, then the belief and the knowing eludes you, right? It's like, if I don't know how, then I can believe it, but then I'm not fully engaged in it and in the emotion of it. because I'm still searching for how am I going to do this? How is this going to happen? Right? And so if we really want to surrender, let go of the HW3, how, what, when, where, and allow that to be Gus's job, right? God, universe, source. Let it, him, me, whatever you want to call it. Let it do its job, right? Let that consciousness handle it. And so yesterday, we had the exercise, obviously write down the 50 or plus ideas around what do you desire. And we talked about one, defining it, desiring it, right? Identify it. That was the exercise. And also understanding where the limitations are. Like I spy limitation, I spy resistance, like letting that show itself. And so that you can understand what's blocking you in some way, consciously or unconsciously, because we are always manifesting consciously and unconsciously. It's happening regardless, right? And so if you identify the limitations and the resistance, then your self-awareness elevates. It goes up. And we also talked about, right, when we desire it, we have to permission it. We have to grant the permission to ourselves that says, I can have this. It's mine. And if there's any part of you that does not want to give you permission, how can it come into your reality? Right? Like, why would it want to? It's like you haven't called it in. You're like, okay, you're not going to take this on. All right. Until you give me permission, right? Then it's going to stand on the sidelines. So that was the other thing we talked about. Then second perspective is to believe it, right? We talked about how much do you believe it's possible for others, but more importantly, how much do you believe on a scale of 1 to 10, if you need to quantify it, is how much do you believe it's possible for you on a scale of 1 to 10. And some of you put a 10. I believe it because I did it before. Okay, great. We just found the evidence, right? That's evidence seeking. That's okay. However, for those of you that don't have the evidence, how can you be a 10 without it, right? More importantly, if you're really dreaming big enough, most of the things outside of our comfort level, right, we haven't done before. We haven't been that identity before. So we want to still tap into, can I believe it's possible for me without knowing how? And a lot of times, if you notice, because you don't know how, your number drops. Like, I don't know how this is going to happen. How do I own a 100 acre, piece of land? I think was an example yesterday. All right, well, can we start with 1? Do you believe in 1 acre? Do you believe in 2 acres? Where's the limit? Where did we stop believing? Right? Right, Maggie? It's like, where's the threshold? So ultimately we want to believe it. And and a great question we can ask ourselves is, what if I believed it? What if blank, if I believe blank? Right? So that's an opportunity there. So today we want to dive into the 2 extra perspectives that actually make the biggest difference of us having what we desire, seeing, observing what we desire in our physical reality. And the first one I want to share with you is what I call know it. It's the knowing. And I believe we spend so much time in like, what's my limiting beliefs? What are my limiting thoughts, right? And that was yesterday, right? The conversation we had yesterday. And yet the piece that actually shifts the energy, vibration, and frequency that you are operating on is the actual level of knowing, the embodiment, the trust, the absolute faith that it's going to happen, the no doubt zone. Right? I know this is mine or something better. Can you feel the difference in the shift when I say, it's like, I live by the ocean. was my desire years ago, 8 years ago, I believe. There's a difference between I believe it and I don't have to worry about the how. Great. And I don't need to worry about when. Awesome. But there's a shift that occurs when I know it's done and or something better. And the shift in that nuance is I don't know if that's the end all, but I know everything that it does show up is going to be in my highest good. It's going to be better than I can imagine. And I no longer am attached to the actual thing that I wrote down. I live by the ocean. Great. Love it. Would love to have it. I don't have to have it because it's not required. But I anticipate, I know, I have faith that more is coming. Better is coming for me. My highest good for me, for all, right? So I don't know if you can see it. Put a 1 in the chat if you can feel, more importantly, versus see it. Feel the nuance between I know this is done and I'm reading what I wrote, but I'm also not requiring it because something better or beyond my imagination is coming. Therefore, it's just like a nice to have. It would be beautiful to have. And I ended up having it, right? I live by the ocean. Now I'm in a mountain, but that's okay. I'll go back to the ocean when I'm ready. So knowing it is a level of embodiment. And it's also where we focus on the identity shifting. Being who you are when you have the thing you wrote down is imperative. You move different, you talk different, you navigate life different, you show up different, you experience different. So someone share with me in the chat or otherwise of what is something you know you want, right? You desire it. And you don't quite believe it. Like you gave me a 5 or 6 or something like that. Give me one of those examples again. Where's the stretch? Private jet. Okay. Hey, Carolyn. Welcome. Private jet. All right. Awesome. What's your number? On a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you believe that is possible for you?
Probably about a 5.
Halfway there. Okay. What would it take and who would you have to be? What would you have to let go of in order to be the 10? And we're just in the believe exercise. I want you to believe it's possible for you versus someone else. Because I know you and me both. We see a whole bunch of people with private jets, right? Of course it's possible. It's happening in the world as we speak. So from you to move from a 5 to 10, what is that? What's the gap?
It's more money.
Money. So you believe money is required to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And so is it a win then? When I have more money, then I can have a private jet?
I guess, yeah.
Okay. So what would, if you didn't need the money, who would you be to have the private jet? Let go of the money.
I don't have the money.
Who would you have to be in order to, or let go of in order to have the private jet now?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
That's okay.
it's all around the money. So it's like I can't say tycoon because tycoon's about the money.
Okay.
I can't say financial independent because that's
It's
about money.
Yeah. Notice how, so here, let's back up a step. Is the private jet, just to clarify, is it about owning the private jet or just having access to fly one, get on one, be
right? Yeah, like when I've got a folder over here that somebody obviously mistakenly sent me about that. About yeah, it's basically like you just rent it, you and a pool of people. It's like a pool jet, right?
Oh yeah, I've got 3 apps on my phone.
Yeah.
You just charter one.
Yeah, I don't want to own it.
Yeah,
I'd like access to it.
So the desire is I fly private jets. I mean, I fly on private jets. Like that's how you, right? So interesting. We have a common friend on here, just flew a private jet in January, and she didn't pay for it. She didn't buy the plane, but she got on the jet. So there's a space, right, where if you let go of how you have to have the private jet. So right now the limitation, so remember, I spy the limitation called limited on money, right? I have to have money. That's the limitation. So if money was not needed, right? Can you believe that a private jet is possible? Somebody brings you on a flight, like, hey, I'm flying to Miami. I want you to go with me. I got it. Come with me. Would you therefore then manifest a private jet?
Well, I guess for me, it's I want to be able to take it when I want it. And I still feel that that's like reliant on somebody.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So there's the I spy limitation is I have to have the money to be able to take it whenever I want. So keep unraveling all the limits. Like, okay, so if you want to just fly it whenever you want. But you see, here's the beauty. If you just believed that it's 100% possible for you to get on a plane whenever you want, a private jet, whenever you want, the how will take care of itself. But it begins with the knowing. It's like letting go of the limitations first, not trying to figure out how to fix the limitations and make them work is not how the private jet's going to show up. So if we can believe that it's possible. So here's the thing. Right now, it's just letting go of all the limitations to say, yep, okay, is it possible for me, regardless of circumstance? Let go of the circumstances. Regardless, is it just a possibility for me, Carolyn Cooper, to have a experience called I get to fly a private jet whenever I want. I get to open the app, register it, and take off whenever I want. Are you willing to let go of the HW3 and the limitation?
Yeah.
Okay, good start. Just be a yes. See, we live in the limitation so deeply in the belief step that's why it, you know, like anything we say we desire, it eludes us, because then how do we get to the knowing if we can't even get to the believing? How can we feel into the complete surrendered knowing it's done or better if we're still in the thoughts and the energy of, but how where's the money going to come from? I mean, I have to have a whole bunch of money in order to just do that anytime I want, right? Like the chatter, right? Like we're hearing the chatter, the limitation, the figuring out the HW3, the realist in you, right? Like that is what the focus is, and therefore that is the vibration. That's where the frequency is, like that's the dial on the radio station. That's where it's turned to. Is yeah, but, right? Yeah, but I need this in order to have this. And that right there is what will continue to cycle our lack of it. It eludes our ability to see it in the physical form. So the exercise is simply, can I believe it? It's possible for me. And let go of all the extra, right? Just that's it. That's the simple question, yes or no. Can I believe it's possible? for me. And then we move into the knowing. Now, the knowing is without all the limitations. Remember, in the first step, desire it and believe it. That is where you have to let go of all the limitation and resistance, or we'll never get to the knowing, the vibration of knowing something is handled, something is done, something is available for me. It's going to show up when it shows up. And it just is something nice to have. There's no requirement for it. If I never have a private plane, am I going to be okay and enjoy my life? I hope so, right? Like we see the beautiful thing is you know, it's interesting. Like as a kid, I never saw private jets in my experiences, right? I didn't see people getting on them, or I didn't know anybody that got on them. Now I do. I have not been on a private jet personally, and sure, it's on my desire list. If I get it, great. If I don't, all good. I just know it's done, or something even more fun is on its way. It's on my list too. Sure. I get to fly whenever I want, get to drive onto the tarmac with my car, or somebody's private driving me, clearly, so I don't have to drive the car off the tarmac, right? And it's done. But it's interesting, like the first half of my life, that wasn't even a possibility. It wasn't even a idea, right? Remember, everything starts in the imagination. Then once it's in the imagination, notice how you see people that it's possible for them. You start seeing people out there that says, oh, you know, like, oh, there's someone flying a private jet every day. That's like, they have that in their, you know, backyard or wherever. And so then it shows itself. So remember, the algorithm of your consciousness, like that was my takeaway from yesterday. I was like, hallelujah, thank you for that transmission. So the algorithm of the consciousness says what you see and imagine and curate in your energy and your vibration and your mind and your thinking and all of that, and therefore feel in your energetic field of self, that is what you will start to see show up. So notice, like social media, it's like the moment you engage with a post that has a particular message or idea or whatever, you start seeing a whole bunch of them. Mm-hmm. Right? So the algorithm will work. It's always working. And so the more that you start seeing, and yet the point of difference is if you maintain the belief that it's possible for them because they have a lot of money. Remember the because right after that. It's possible for them because they have a lot of money. Therefore, it's not fully possible for me because I don't have the money. That's the 5 out of 10. And they had to believe it was possible before they had the money in order for it to actually manifest. You know, now, and, you know, other people's stories and how they get there, that's on them. But ultimately, if you want what you desire, it's a matter of believing it fully, that it is possible for you, not outside of you. And then knowing it's done, and there's no limitations, there's no how, and if only if this occurs, will I be able to have it? That's where the egoic self limits, and puts you in a box. And notice you know, you're one of my clients. So you notice when we talk about identity shifting from the current fishbowl to the next fishbowl, where it's like we're in this egoic identity in the fishbowl, right, currently. And in order to jump out of that one and get into a new one, you have to let go of the thing that limits you here in this current experience. And what that looks like is all of the reasons why it's not true for you. Why it's not going to happen, or it has to do that, it has to have this, that, like, it's called conditions, right? Like requirements. In order to have the plane, I have to have the money. Yeah, that's logical. And there's plenty of people that fly in planes and people gift it to them, or the money shows itself. That's fine. I'm cool with that too. but it's not it doesn't have to be the requirement. And if money is required, like, you know, like meaning that's how the universe wants to provide it to you, okay, well, the money will show up. But because now that's a whole nother belief that we need to go look at. I don't have enough money. And that gets perpetuated for whatever you want to buy, whatever you want to spend it on, whatever you want to exchange it for, right? So very good. Thank you, Carolyn, for sharing that. So the knowing is imperative, right? Like that is the embodiment step. And we can't get there, ideally, right, without believing it. Notice how it's like, I can't, I'm not knowing it right now. I'm not embodying the feeling because I'm stuck over here at a 5 on the belief meter. Right? So when we want to know, like, how do I get there? Like, how does this work? Well, first we got to believe it without conditions. It's just so. Then we move into the knowing, and it's a nice to have. I would love to have it. That would be so freaking fun to fly planes when I fly a private jet whenever I want. I see it possible. I see it happening in the world, and it's going to be interesting how many times you get the ad for the chartered planes show up in your algorithm, right? It's going to start showing itself. Other things might be possible, or oh wow, here's a drawing for, you know, a flight from here to Maui or whatever. Like things are going to show itself, and we didn't even create that. We didn't define that. We just said, I have a private jet. I fly on private jets. And then all the magic starts to occur. This is the knowing is what leads us to the magic moments, right? The magic of, we call them glimmers, right? In our world over here. And so shifting your identity to be that life is magical, that would be a good start. Can you believe that life is magical? That my consciousness creates magic all the time, and it shows up in miraculous, amazing ways that I had never even expected. It's just like being the wow all the time. Like, wow, how'd that show up? That's awesome. How cool is that? It's a story to tell. Like, how many amazing stories can you share about the way that things arrive to you? And yet it started somewhere in your imagination. Or you saw it and was like, oh, that'd be cool, you know, like out there. But then, yeah, pops into your reality. And then you get to choose it. You know, is it a preference? Is it not a preference? And so the knowing, so put a 7 in the chat if this makes sense or if it's resonating, like, is this landing for you? The difference between believing and knowing. Right? The difference between believing and knowing. Hello, I'm there. My little iPad here. Okay, so then the note I want to leave here is to match the frequency and vibration. I wrote this down. To match the frequency and vibration, you lean into, this is the knowing process, if you want to consider it that. You lean into the expansion versus the contraction. You lean into love over fear. You lean into abundance versus scarcity. And you absolutely lean into the ease over the hard. When we feel expansive, so even if it's in the moment, right? In Carolyn's example, it's like, okay, private jet, but I don't have the money, so how can I believe it? You know, and it's like, so is that expansive or is there a contraction experience going on? Like, I don't know how to get there. I can't have this, you know, right? The contraction occurs. And you can just, everybody relate something to your list, right? Relate what I'm saying to your list, to your desires. Are you feeling expansive about it? Are you having an expansive thought or a contractive, limiting, I don't believe, but what about this? right? What kind of thoughts and experiences are you having in your imagination? Are you fearing it? Are you past projection? So what's my definition of fear, right? Past projection, future tripping. And fear can come from it clearly comes from our imagination. Notice how some of our fears are not even based on our own experience. It's based on somebody else's experience, someone else you saw, a movie you watched. There are some experiences that I see on movies that I clearly have not experienced in my own physical reality. And yet it's still on my movie screen. It's showing up on my movie screen, right? The movie I'm watching on my movie screen of life. So fear is simply an imaginative past projection. Even if you did experience something, and trust me, I've had a lot of experience, hardships, challenges, turbulence, not so fun experiences in my life. And and yet in this moment with you, in this moment of time and space, I am not in those experiences or physical manifestations anymore. And yet my imagination will go back to it, pull it forward, and put it into my future, because this now is the only now that I have. That experience, that fear is not real. It is not real. However, remember, our mind and our imaginative self does not know the difference between real and imagined. So it's real to the imagination. It's as real as it can get, right? So we are the masters. Remember yesterday, got to remember who you are. Got to go back to who am I really? And it's stepping back into I create all of it. I create the perception of it. I create the imagination of it. I start with my imagination and it shows up. And if I live in fear-based world, trust me, eventually fear is just an imaginative act. So it's going to show itself. You're going to see more of evidence so that, guess what? Go back to yesterday, dominoes continue to fall. The momentum of a domino, when you just push one, the ripple effect is like, wow. So we got to disrupt the pattern, recognize it first, right? Disrupt the pattern. Like, what was the pattern the first domino that I pushed and said, maintain that pattern, please. The command is simple. Keep the pattern going. And so if you're constantly in some kind of fear or worry, some people are like, it's interesting when I ask somebody, I'm like, what are you afraid of? I'm like, I'm not afraid. I'm like, okay, well, what are you worrying about? What are you concerned about? What do you think might happen? Those are all in the fear bucket. It's all in the same bucket. Are you hearing yourself say, what if a lot? Like, what if this happens? Oh my gosh, what's the worst that could happen, right? All of that is still fear-based thinking, imagination, going on inside of you. So where you're coming from is the shift, right? The identity that you're coming from. So just to repeat, you lean into the expansion, not the contraction. You lean into love, not fear. You lean into the abundance, not scarcity. And how do you do that on a daily, minute by minute practice basis? Is simply to catch your thoughts midstream and be like, is this contracting or expanding? Well, okay, I'm feeling a little limitation around that. That doesn't feel the best that I could feel. So what would be a more expansive thought right now in this moment? And this will help to solidify the knowing, right? So when we get to the knowing, a lot of times it's not about affirming over and over and over. I will just offer, look, I started this transformational work with a lot of affirmation work. And yet I can go back probably 20 years and look at a list of affirmations that have yet to come true. Wonder why. Because it's not the act of affirming that gets it. So this is the new level of consciousness that we are in the world, right? We all potentially watched The Secret, and I love that The Secret showed itself, because it was a catalyst for a bigger conversation, but it wasn't the end all. Like the secret law of attraction is absolutely real, but it's like, it's the law of attraction, as I mentioned yesterday, is related to the algorithm of your consciousness. So we can have only what we are conscious thereof. We can experience only that which we are conscious of. So our consciousness is what's driving the experiences we have, the perceptions we see, you know, right? So affirming is not the end all. I have a belief that I write it down once and it's done. I don't need to affirm it 100 times. I used to, you know, I used to be like, okay, I'm going to write this down 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, 9 times in the evening, whatever the 3-6-9 rule, right? Or I'm going to write it down 100 times until my hand falls off, right? Well, how is that helping? It's like affirming is almost like you know, I mean, and if it's convincing you to believe it, okay, great, right? Then do it. If it resonates with you, great. And if you find joy in it, great. I don't find joy in writing things down 100 times. And then notice it's like, oh, I didn't write it down 100 times yesterday. Oh my gosh, now I'm a failure. Now I didn't do it. Now we get to just judge ourselves because we didn't do the exercise right. Right. I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. There's some I spy limitation again. Right. My ego's coming in and telling me how I'm supposed to do all this. And the bottom line is it just never fully resonated with me. Right. So if you really listen, start listening for your, and more importantly, feeling your resonance. Like, does it feel expansive to write this down 100 times? Maybe it does for you. Great, go for it. For me, I was like, I don't think this is necessary. I think it's just confirming that I don't fully believe. Like, notice how if you keep affirming, like write it down, write it down, write it down, affirm, affirm, affirm. There's a part of you that's still trying to convince yourself to believe it. Did that land? Give me a 1. Yeah. Kind of like, I don't want to, like, what if I just believed it? And then now I move into the knowing. See, so step 3, perception 3 of this whole process of desire not require is to know it in the visceral cellular level of who you are. My clients, you know, we talk about ordering the pizza. When you order a pizza, or you can say Amazon, a lot of people use the analogy called Amazon, or I mean, at this point, anytime we order things online, do we sit there and believe that it's not going to show up? Or, well, hold on, how do I make sure this shows up? Like, do I need to call UPS? You know, like, like, you know, what is that? And so when you order the pizza, and, you know, Domino's used to had a time limit. I don't think they do that anymore. But it's like you order the pizza, you take the inspired action. Oh, I want a pizza. I would love to have a pizza tonight. Okay, well, you take an inspired action. You know it's going to be delivered. First of all, you believe you can have a pizza. Let's just put it in simple terms. You believe you can have the pizza. Yes? 10. No problem. I can have a pizza. Then let's move it to the knowing, right? I know when I put it in the app, now we have apps, and I don't have to make the phone call anymore. It's going to deliver. I put in my address, I pay for it, it delivers. So I know that, and I said it a little faster. I wanted to get to the next step. So I know it's going to get delivered, knowing before I take any action. I know it's delivered. Do you have any doubt that if you go put it in the app that you'll get the pizza? Not me. So desire it. I want the pizza. Believe it. Yep. I believe I am capable and willing, and I completely am possible, right, to have it. And then I know it's going to deliver if I put it in the app, and who knows? It's like, if I knew it, if I know I'm going to get a pizza, I may not even be the one that orders it. How many times have you said, I'd really love like coffee or pizza or, something. And then somebody just happens to bring it in, or you're at work and they like bring in food for the day. And you're like, oh, I didn't even know they were going to order pizza for the lunch, right? It can come in without you doing anything. But the 4th step, right? The 4th perspective is to act upon from inspiration, right? Inspired action. I like to call it in spirit action. So I know I want the pizza. I desire it. I don't need to go to affirm. I don't need to affirm. I desire a pizza. No, I believe it's possible, 100%. I know it's going to come to me, right? I have no doubt. And then I take in spirit action and go put it in the app and order the pizza. And it shows up. And I don't sit there and wonder, you know, is it going to show up? How is it going to show up? Interesting enough, I even shared this story once in a while where I ordered a pizza, and it was, you know, I'm like, huh, like it's like 45 minutes, almost an hour. Like, yeah, wondering where, did I put in the right address? You know, whatever. So then all of a sudden my neighbor brings me the pizza. And she's like, they delivered it to my house. But I still got it. It went to the wrong address, even though I had the right address, but it went to the wrong address. You know, like if you look at it, how funny is that? It's like I still got the pizza, and it was not even delivered in the way that I would think that it would be delivered, like that whole thing, right? So it's like, oh yeah, my neighbor delivered my pizza, you know? So it's just interesting. If you zoom out and start to look at your bigger desires, how much we start to limit all of that. It just it starts shutting down, like getting smaller, you know, possibility gets smaller. The knowing isn't even present anymore. Like, because you know, private jet in our mind is made to mean something bigger than what we can believe. That's all that's going on. Like the pizza, oh, I can believe that. And then why can't you look at the private jet as a pizza? That's the energy. Can you look at the private jet like you would look at a pizza getting delivered? Now, if you can go there, you'll quantum leap it. Carolyn's like, I don't know.
I'm torn. I totally can.
Yes.
But for me, there's something really important about being able to do it myself.
Because you
like, I don't want you ordering my damn pizza.
You want the anchovies and the mushroom. I
love anchovies, but I don't want. I want to order the pizza.
Okay. Can you want to do it yourself and not require it?
I think that's probably more potent than anything. Yeah. Because I think that's really it, whether it's the jet or whatever.
Or the condo, high-rise penthouse.
Right. Anything. Yeah. It's really not the thing. It's being able to do it myself.
Okay. So what would you have to let go of in self in order to do it yourself? What would you have to believe? What would you have to let go of? What would you have to surrender? What identity would you need to be?
I think it ties into all the just, you know, working hard and you know, getting what you deserve because you worked hard and all of that stuff
that keeps you not. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
Is those thoughts and beliefs are what keep you from not doing it yourself? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, and you know this because we've had this in our calls, but just like the concept of, you know, rise and grind and hustle hard and like all that stuff that the last 10 years as an entrepreneur, I've really embodied as sort of like, you know, the call as an entrepreneur, and to just sit back and have a jet show up, it doesn't resonate.
Okay.
Or the condo or the chauffeur or the beach house, you know.
So what is it that this is interesting. So I don't think it's the private jet.
It's not the private jet. That's what I'm saying. I just chose that because that's what first came to my mind.
You wrote it down, right? I
wrote it down. Yeah.
Yeah. So underneath, so go deeper, right? So is it, I want to feel what? There's a feeling you're chasing. What?
It's that independence. It's like whether it was I was a student and I was able to buy my first little DVD or whether it was the jet. Like
you're chasing the dopamine hit.
Probably. It's the retail therapy.
You're rebel. Yeah, right. You're a rebel, right? On the archetype. What's one of the ego tricks? I'll tell you. Addiction. So addiction can be the traditional addictions that we all think of, or it can be the dopamine. It can be the sleep. It can be work. It can be accomplishment. It can be production. It can be working out. Like if your ego needs it to somehow feel a particular way, right? So it's kind of like, can you feel that feeling, the dopamine hit, and you didn't get the plane? Somebody else handed it to you. I would personally, but I'm just saying like that it's an inquiry. It's like, huh, what is it about me doing it that has me? Because what if here's a beauty. It's like the level of capacity that a human being has to do something is the human being, right? The vessel is somewhat limited, like, right? There's a limitation, but the consciousness is unlimited. It's infinite. So question being, as I mentioned before, is all of it is about this. Where are you coming from? Which one, ego or essence? If you can answer that question about everything you say you want, everything you want to feel, all the things you desire, do I desire this from essence? Because it'd be fun to have, it'd be great, you know, I'd love to have it. It'd be joyful. It'd be exciting. It'd be dopamine hits. It'd be, you know, whatever. Like, okay, great. Essence, it's a desire, a pure desire. Or is it coming from ego that says, I want this so that I feel safe. I want this so that I feel the dopamine hit. I want to be able to do it this way so that that's how it is done, you know, or that's how I receive it. So my point is, what if you could have the dopamine hit and you didn't have to do it? Would you still enjoy the dopamine hit? That's the question to ponder. Like, just to be with it. You don't have to answer right now. Like, it's because right now we're thinking about it. Like, I just want you to go into the feeling of like, okay, like what if my consciousness is more powerful, my infinite self is more powerful than anything my physical human self can or ego can do?
I know for me, you know, just the act of being able to spend that money.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's my money versus somebody else's money is important.
And why is it important?
I guess because I've seen other people without it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that struggle.
Okay, so notice there's conditions. Like, it's important because I don't want to struggle. You see other people struggle.
I don't want somebody giving me handouts.
What does that mean about you? What does that mean when people give you handouts?
It means you're reliant on somebody else.
Okay. And what does that make you feel?
Well, lousy.
Some people love it. Give it to me all day long. Bring it on. Right? So your identity, current, and it can be shifted, as you know, is I'm the one that has to do it so that I don't feel lousy by getting it free, by getting it by, you know, charity, or somebody just hands it to me. I got to work for it. I got to do it. I got to make it happen. So in that, notice that there's not a lot of room for possibility. It's conditional.
Yeah.
And so I'm just here to crack it open a little bit. It's just like, can we potentially see how the ego is protecting you by putting all the conditions, limits, resistance on me being the one to do it, so that the ego protects you from lousy or dependent or right? Whatever the actual meaning is that's painful in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the deeper levels of source of like, why is my ego trick flaring up? Those are the nuances. And it's just like a space for you to, an opportunity to go, okay, that's how I hold it right this minute. But what if that belief loop, as we call it, right? Like if that is in place and I'm not getting what I desire, like it's not showing up in my reality, what if shifting that and opening it, moving into more love, not less fear of feeling lousy, less fear of being looked at like that versus I did it, right? And I can relate to this. I've told you this many times. I made a belief in childhood that I cannot count on anyone else. I'm the one that has to do it all.
Right.
Trust me, that's a lot of effort. It's very effortful.
It is, yeah.
And so now it's like, bring it on. If somebody wants to give it to me, yay. I don't want the effort anymore, right? Like my identity is ease, flow, magic. There we go. I don't care how I get it. I just would love to have it. So who cares? Right? It's like, remember when I say like, lighten it up. Like if it feels lousy to be given, how can you lighten it up? Because energetically, that's the heavy. Is I'm holding on so tight I have to be the one to do it so that I can avoid feeling the feelings of lousy or dependent or powerless or helpless or any of those things, right? Because that's the correlation that the ego has to the desire. Notice how we've just started with what do you desire? And we've come back all the way to where the nuance is of this is why I don't currently have it in my reality. I'm holding so tight to this one perspective because my inner child doesn't want to experience the helpless. I'm not charity. Nobody gives me stuff because then that would mean that I can't do it myself. So just be with that for however long, right? Just be with it. Thank you. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of insight. So once we know it, without all the conditions, without all the limitations, we already believe it. We have a 10, got it. I can believe it's possible for me. There's no conditions, no limitation. And then you know it in your bones that it is 100% possible and yours. Like it's done or something better. And in that moment where you say it's something better, there's no attachment to the thing that you wrote down. It could be something better and you don't even have that written down because you don't know what it is. That's the magic. Know in your bones, know in your identity that it's handled. And then the fourth perspective, as mentioned, is the inspired action, in spirit action. If you are taking action or no action or feel reaction, right? Coming from ego, that's not the answer, right? Like that's the opposite of what we're speaking to right now. The action inspired comes from, I mean, example, I thought I was going to Phoenix or Arizona in February as my first nomadic trip. It was around January 13th or 15th. I was like, what about my head? Like a message. What about Joshua Tree? And I went, oh, that felt really expansive. I immediately saw the stars at night. I sat there last night, looked at the stars. I feel like I'm in LA. We have the, oh goodness, what's it called? Griffith. What's it called? When you stare at the stars.
Observatory?
That, I feel like it's another word. Yeah, maybe that's it. Anyway, you get my point, right? Like, oh, yes, you get to be in the cosmos. So I feel like I'm in my own cosmos over here. And it even has a telescope sitting here, like a big one. And I can't figure out how to make it not blurry. Anyway, I'll figure it out. But that right there was this inspiration. And I could have ignored the crap out of it and said, no, why would I go to Joshua Tree? Like my chatter could have come in immediately and said, you know, why would I want to go live by myself in the middle of the desert for a month? You know, because I was like, oh, I got friends in Phoenix. I could hang out with them. And I had all these good reasons to go to Phoenix. And I didn't do all that. I just heard it and I was like, okay, that felt expansive. That felt lighter. Like it felt good. And then my chatter, you know, showed up a little bit like, really? Am I really? Is that what I'm supposed to do? You know, the doubt. And then I just sat back and I said, well, it feels expansive. So why not? And do you know some of the biggest awareness and lessons and my ability to be in solitude after 23 years of like, you know, like real solitude with, I got bunnies and, you know, life, I've got things going on out here, nature and not a lot of people. Like I've got neighbors, but you don't see them, you know, they're like 2 acres away. And so I've learned, I wouldn't know what those lessons and those gifts are without just trusting the inspiration. I didn't, you know, I mean, will I learn something in the next location? Sure. But I just am saying, like, can you just trust life to unfold and not try to control all of it? Trust the direction. And so inspired action just feels like, okay, I have this desire. So somebody else, let's see if you maybe you guys typed it in here. Let me see. Give me a desire. Somebody else, give me a desire that you believed in. Like, I know it's possible for me. And I know it. I know, and or something better's coming. Like you can clearly see the 3 perspectives checked off. And now we're at the action step. Does anybody have one? You may or may not, because things we desire that we don't yet have sometimes has something blocking it, right? Does anybody have one?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah,
sorry,
sure. So when you look at your list, Stephanie,
question, yeah.
Sure. So when you look at your list of 60, do you have one on there that you believe it's possible for you?
Yeah.
And you know it. You know it's done. You can feel the expansiveness of it. You can feel like, or something better, right? Like you're really in the embodiment of it. And then we're just going to be at the action step, right? The inspired action. So what would be one thing? What's an example?
Getting my horse.
Your horse, yes. Oh, and you have some evidence around that.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, we're getting a new horse. Okay. So this is just a good example. I know you, so I know that you have those other 3 perspectives pretty much handled there. So on the inspired action, what would be one inspired action? Not overthinking, not trying to figure it out. Like, just like I have my horse. What would you go do next? What's next? First answer.
Oh, just the inspired action from I have my horse.
Yep.
How about go and find one that I want? So go shopping.
Go shopping. And you do that online or how?
Yes.
Yeah, now it's online.
No, I'll do that with Sarah, my instructor.
Oh, got it. Okay. So
I'll do that with her. Yeah.
So you just like,
and
call Sarah, say, let's go shopping. Is there any thoughts that come up after when you think of that?
Gulp.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
Gulp.
Gulp. Yeah, like.
And what comes up? How, what, when, where?
What comes up is, oh wow, I've wanted this since I was 14. I'm actually going to do this. Oh crap. Okay. It's a commitment.
Oh yeah, the commitment. Interesting.
Yeah.
So notice the
and it's not a commitment to the horse itself. It's a commitment to the action. Like, okay, I've been saying it for 50 years. It's time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? So notice how quickly I can get you to the inspired action, but whether or not you jump around and play gymnastics in your head about all the things, right? Just like I had a little bit of chatter come up when I thought about Joshua Tree, that's our egoic self immediately coming in to try to control the narrative, control the experience, like make you feel safe, make you feel comfortable. Like, oh my gosh, this is a big commitment. Okay, what does that mean? And how does that feel in your body?
Yeah.
What does the big commitment mean?
Well, it goes from being a dream to a reality. And yeah, I think it's because it's been a dream for so long, and I hadn't believed it for so long.
True.
That my ego is going, are you sure? Are you really sure?
Are you sure you want this?
Yeah. The good news is I know exactly what my ego's doing and saying.
That is the good news. You're in the work with me.
Yeah, that is the good news. Yeah.
We know this.
We do know this.
Yes. Ooh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Unmuted. Yeah. So that is where we get to override. All right. So inspired action is very simple. Like, order the pizza. Okay. Go on the app and put the order in. Right. Go shop for the horse. It's simple. It's just directive. It's just like, yeah, that. Right. And then yet there's all this egoic, immediate, like, I don't even know if there was a second pause of, oh my gosh, am I really going to do this? And, what's the doubt, right? And how do I do this? How do I manage this responsibility? Like, oh, wow, this is and so you're expanding your capacity to have it. Right?
Yes.
The moment you move into this step of inspired action and you take the first action, you're expanding your capacity. Like, just step forward. And so, then override, it's kind of like, we are the ones creating the egoic behavior. We created it a long time ago in order to protect ourselves. And so therefore we get to put it in the back seat. Stop letting it drive the car. Just notice, everyone, notice how much you let the egoic self drive the decisions, the actions, the next steps, the thoughts, and then the non-action. It's like, I mean, she could think all those things and immediately pause and not go into action about shopping for the horse. I know, Stephanie.
The good news is, though, but I've already told Sarah, my instructor,
yes,
that this is what I'm going to do, and I've asked her to hold me accountable.
Love that. Yes, that is a really good way, is to declare it out loud to someone, right? And to your point, to like someone that can keep you accountable. Yeah. So when you get the inspired action, that's a hack, right? Is to go declare it. And of course we talk about that in our group collective calls a lot of times. It's just like, you're declaring it to me or to the group, right? And it's like, it's done. Okay, now we're going to make sure you move forward with that. Right. And get the ego out of the way.
Right.
Because it's just the nonsense and it's keeping you from having the things that you would love to have. I'm going to ask you this real quick. Any part of you afraid you're going to lose it again? Lose the horse? Because I know the last one just died.
No.
Okay.
No, because I'm going for a younger one. Jack is 21.
Don't buy the 21-year-old.
I've improved my. It will improve the odds.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also think what you were discussing with Carolyn earlier, it's showing up and somewhat differently too, because there is another horse coming that Sarah got for free that I may be able to share board with. And this horse is 14, and also has been ridden and trained by a woman who is now 84 and has said she finally can't ride anymore. I'm like, okay, that'll work for me.
Yeah.
So that's happening. That's kind of in the works right now.
Yeah.
So I'm open to, it may have a different shape, because
Yes.
I'm also going by my, Sarah, my instructor, who's like totally knows animal husbandry and also knows what I can and cannot do right now.
Yes.
So yeah.
100%.
Not can't do from a don't believe it, but also what's the best kind of horse for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that, like, meaning, the willingness for, right? It's not a requirement for you to have a horse. And it's not a requirement to have that particular horse, right? Like, so when we get attached and anywhere that, and then we're attached to a particular outcome of what it looks like, that's where we start to have the limitations and the restriction and the contraction. And so I love that you're staying open to, like, oh, this potential showed up. Like, that's an option, right? Like, it's like, oh, it's okay. I mean, I would go on to Airbnb, I see a lot of options. And then I just be with it and just let the options that are meant to show up more in my space, I like let them rise to the surface. And then I will just know, I will trust my instinct, intuition, my gut, whatever you want to call it. Gus will speak to me and say, now buy it. Now go. Like, now go.
Right.
And that is how I got this one.
I do believe that.
Yeah, 4 days before this house, but 4 days before I moved here.
Moved. Yeah.
Your planner would be like, man, that was short plan. I was already packed. See, I didn't have to do anything. I just needed to buy it. Anyway.
Oh, no. I'd be insisting on 2 hours sleep over that one.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Ego will get you. Awesome. Thank you. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
So that's the example I wanted to show. Like, okay, this is what it looks like to take an inspired action. And then what gets in the way of taking the inspired action? And then notice how our ego even gets in the way of, like, is that an inspired action? Did I make that up? Am I forcing this? Yeah, because you've let the ego come in real fast, right? And so if you can just really get good at, it's a practice of, like, hearing the inspired action in the moment and not hesitating. Universe, consciousness loves speed, right? Meaning, just like when you hear it, go. Don't overthink it, right? It's when we immediately come in with all the overthinking and the egoic behavior that we then it hijacks our momentum. That's what I call it. So, very good. Jennifer Humphreys, my friend. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So
I was listening to Stephanie and I was like, that's okay. So I want to share because I apologize for cleaning house today. But so anyway, I have had, I had a horse as a kid, right? So I have this idyllic childhood little girl horse, Arabian horse experience. And so I always wanted to repeat that, right? And so I have a husband that does not believe in that dream. So I was always like, oh, someday, it's happening. Sorry, it's happening. And I am actually a photographer. Specifically, I do equine photography. And this last summer, I went to Colorado on to do some sessions with some wild Mustangs that had just gotten adopted, and a Mustang rescue to promote with calendars and stuff, ways to do fundraising for them, and watching other people owning these horses and loving on these horses. And I'm taking all these amazing shots that I'm able to do because I don't have a horse at home. And it hit me. Sorry. It hit me that I'm not supposed to have a horse. And in one single moment, it was sadness and not anymore. It was just like gone. It was like, of course I'm not supposed to have a horse. I get to promote all these beautiful horses and help get them adopted through my photography. And I would never be able to go all over the countryside to do all this if I had my own horse. And I get so many amazing horses because of what I'm doing instead of having that one horse. And I'm not telling you to not have a horse. I'm just saying that for me, letting it go to the universe and just saying, okay, you know what, I know what John says and I know what I believe. So it doesn't matter. It's just eventually that horse is going to be mine. And I didn't know what it looked like or anything. And apparently it looks like a whole bunch of horses.
It looks like a whole bunch of horses.
Yeah.
Well, so
this
interesting
is so
you said
good,
that.
Jen.
Can I jump in? Because
Sure.
I'm so sorry. I have to jump in because Sarah, my instructor, that's what she does. She rescues horses and we use them in the program.
Yeah.
So sorry, I had to say that. So feel free to share the link, Jennifer.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Her pictures are gorgeous. Oh my gosh. And Jen, I would just offer as that the reframe of, and I think you got there, was no, when we say, like me, I said I live by the ocean, and you saw me for all those years. I would go to my version of live by the ocean did not look like the immediate picture, right? Not in the short term, but I was living by the ocean in Destin every single year. And that became, I live by the ocean. There's, and that without the limitation, without the expectation, without the, it has to look like this. And so your creation that says, I have a horse, right, is the same thing. And it's not that you don't have your own, it's that you have many horses that you get to connect with, that you get, I got goosebumps, that you get to experience, that you get to capture, and which is gorgeous and beautiful. And you are connecting to the energy of horse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get so much love from those horses.
Yeah. So this is the example of I desire this or something better. Right. And it's not even like I don't have the horse. It's like I do. I have the horse. It's just this is better. This is the magic. And I love that story. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you.
John loves that story.
I'm sure. I'm sure John's like, and thank you.
Are you sure? I'm positive. So yeah.
And you should talk to Stephanie, because Stephanie figured out how to have a horse and all she does is rent it.
Perfect.
I was like, sign me up for that. I'm like, you mean you can, she said, what is it called? Subleasing? You can sublease a horse. And I was like, wow, which means you don't have to house it and all that, right?
Right, it's called share boarding, so you help to pay for the room and board, but you don't get the vet bills.
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
Amazing.
That's nice, yeah.
Beautiful. These are beautiful examples.
Some horses tonight too, so.
Wow. Is that near your? Is that on near your? Do you have horses near you? You said you have land above Austin.
Oh, not land. Well, yes, I do, but it's a tiny little piece of land. It's a little 2-bedroom cottage, is what I have.
Cottage. Okay.
In Canyon Lake.
They have horses over there?
Somewhere over there. They have lots of horses, yeah. But I'm where I am, there's a therapy center that I'm going to tonight. They're gonna be painting. The horses are gonna paint. So I'm gonna be taking pictures of that. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. And that's so interesting because I've always had an affinity towards horses since I was very young, and I would draw them. I'm an artist, so I drew horse faces, and I mean they're just so beautiful. And yet I've ridden some a few times, not like you guys, or like Stephanie does it all the time, but I've drawn towards them, and yet I wrote down at one time a long time ago, I have a horse. I have a black horse or a black dog, and I name it Raven. Okay, well, I got the black dog first, and he was almost a horse. He was a 100-pound lab, but the idea of having a horse, I blocked the manifestation because meaning I would write down I have a horse, but then I went into the egoic limitation of well, how would I board it, and all the things, right? And so that's where it just wouldn't come in. And then when Stephanie, now I still have the creation, but then Stephanie goes share-boarding, and I'm like, oh, there we go. That's more like it. So whether or not it's there, it's a possibility for me as well, and or something better. right? Like, so it's just a let go. So thank you for being here and sharing that story. That was brilliant. So in summary, I just want to like anchor the 4 steps, 4 perspectives of desiring something and not requiring is define it, believe it, know it, inspired action, act upon it. And that act upon is without the hesitation. It's without the egoic chatter and the gymnastics that it does to pause you and to stop you and to keep you from moving forward. Even if it's just to go Google something and learn something about the desire that you have, right? It's like sometimes it's just me like researching, or I have an idea and I'm like, oh, that'd be interesting to learn or learn more about. And then I go to it. And all of a sudden it's like a rabbit hole, right? And it just moves me down the path of what I desire. And then magical things start to show up, or I start to see more horses. And by the way, I live next to a horse, like a there's 6 horses over here next to me. And I did walk over and say hello. And there's a baby. I'm like, there's also a baby. I couldn't even see the baby from here. And then there's also like 6 huskies, and they howl at night. And they sound like coyotes, but I can tell it's right there. So I'm like, okay, those are the huskies. I'm good.
You have to take some pictures with your phone and send them to me of the
Yes,
horses.
you're right. I need to, yes, I will do that. Oh man, it's so neat. I mean, that I picked a house. There's no way for me to know that I have horses next door. Like, how perfect is that? So all
Jenna,
is
can you repeat the 4 steps? Can you repeat
sure.
the 4 steps again? Yeah, please.
Desire it, which means like you got to define it, right?
Yeah.
Identify what you desire. Desire it, believe it, possible for self on a 10, right? Scale of 10. Mm-hmm. Know it, which is your embodiment, your identity shifting, right? I know it's done, mm-hmm. or something better. And then inspired action. Right? So hopefully we got all those 4.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'd love to just check in with everybody else. There's some others on here. Just put a word in the chat that just what are you hearing for yourself today? Word or phrase. What are you hearing? Lighten up. Yeah. Don't take it so serious. Expand my desires, not limit. Love that, Liddy. Possibilities. Yes. Catch thoughts midstream. Yes. Catch them before they become dominoes that keep going. And it's so interesting when you look at that, because I call it rumination. Right. So when we hear the inspired thought, and then we start ruminating on all the things that are like, what about that? No, that's not going to work. And what about this? Oh, this, I can't do that. Or, like, just like, oh, stop ruminating on it. Just take the action. Just take the first step, whatever that is. Right. Follow the flow of life. Follow without hesitation the flow of life. Ginger says, I like the thought of the desire or something better. Yeah, like, oh, doesn't that feel better? Doesn't that feel good in the body? Like, I got this or something better. Like, hello. How exciting can that be? Right? And it leads you into a space of adventure and play. And remember, we were the closest to our origin of consciousness, like meaning our infinite self-consciousness, as a child. That's what we're closest to the origin. And then we started loading all these conditions on and loading all the limitations on and adopting all of the beliefs. And the ego's like, okay, I'm going to help you stay away from all those painful beliefs that you made up and all those conditions and limitations that you heard somebody say and then you said yes. Remember, we created all. We created all. And so be in the play, be in the childlike, adventurous self. That it's like, can you go out in the front yard and just dance and have fun? And then when you're done with that, you come in and you play Barbies, or, you know, like, I had a whole playroom. I mean, my imagination was so big. And then somewhere along the way, it started getting shut down. I shut it down. And I would go into my playroom for hours. My mom's like, she's in the playroom. And I had a chalkboard. I was a teacher. I would be, I'd play house, and then I'd be a mom. I would play office. This was crazy, you guys. You know, I'm a business owner, right? I made a business at 10 years old called the DNC Clinic Association. I even remember. And I had a binder, and it was a dog and cat adoption center. I was 10. No, we didn't have, yes, back in the day, we had floppy disks, the 5x5 for the computers. My dad was a computer programmer, so I did get some of the computers early on, but oh my gosh, I still have that binder, I think, somewhere, and the paper clips are rusted. Because I put it on like graph paper, and I had training, like the dogs and cats would, or dogs would get trained. So I had training classes all organized. I used to play bank. I'd pull out my dresser and be the cashier. Like, seriously, like, just play. Stop being so conditional. Like, allow your dreams to come to life, or something better. I think I created better than DNC Clinic Association. That was my first imagination. And then I got cats and dogs all the time. Like, I have cats and dogs, but instead of creating that business, I'm creating this one, right? So it's just a matter of like allowing yourself to come back to that playfulness, that lighten it up self, that identity of, this is not so serious. This is a game I've chosen to play. Why do we play games? It's not the seriousness of it. Yeah, we can get pretty serious, but what if it's just for the fun of the, you know, the challenge? It's kind of like Carolyn. Okay, I'm going to challenge myself to do this. All right, great. But do you have to? No. Like, that's the shift. Can you be unattached to the have to? Right? Can you just play? And so be in the awe of the game you have created and the games that you're choosing within the game of life. Choose the game of business owner. Choose the game of horse photographer, Jennifer. Choose the game of performing, Maggie. And anything that blocks you from doing that thing, either it's certainly, I mean, the first question is, what am I, who am I being about that, right? Like, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? It's not the circumstance. It's not the laryngitis, Maggie. It's something within you. So great. So great. Let the options rise to the surface. That's a good one. Laugh at myself when ego steps in. 100%. Like, can you just be like, OMG? There he is again. There's the ego. Right? Take the first step. Can be small, easy, light. Yes. And you are also not tied down to that specific thing. No, yeah. The moment we put our specific, like, this is how it has to be. And I will say, I'm moving into a conversation around human design. And there is this, I don't know if anybody else knows what I'm speaking to, but it's very fascinating. And it's a game I want to play around with. And there's this distinction called non-specific or specific as to how you manifest. And one or the other is going to feel a little more expansive to you. And in this game called human design, it's like based on your design. And I'm non-specific, apparently. Okay. So if I believe that, right? And it is interesting because I've never really been able to comfortably design my life 5 years in the future. Like, what is that? You know, like it felt more constrictive. So, and some of you might be more specific, where you do kind of specify what, like, the details of your creations that you want, right? The desires that you want. However, the entire trick or puzzle piece to this is to let go of the attachment. So you can be specific or you can be non-specific about it. You can design it and put it on, like paint it and put it on a vision board and, you know, make every detail so clear and crystal and crystallized and all of that. And then the whole point is to let go of the attachment and just allow your consciousness to lead you through the flow of life. So I just wanted to kind of wrap that with a bow. So before we start wrapping up today, I actually want to bring on someone and just have a conversation of what it's been like to be in our ego shift container. And I am going to share with you guys what it would look like to continue to be in our family. You've met some of the friends of mine that are actually in the container called the Ego Shift Experience. And they've actually opted to be in the master's program, the master's level. And it's just an amazing experience to be in the practice together. We're co-creating always. And so I'm going to share a little bit more about that, just so it's the invitation is there. And if you want to step forward and continue with us in some way, you have that option. But first and foremost, I want to talk to someone that has chosen to be in the container and just what her experience has really been about. And so, Leah, are you with me?
I'm here.
There you are. Thank you for being here. And I'm pausing for a second because I'm trying to figure out how to put both of us on here, but I don't see how to, so I'm not going to worry about it. And so I can see you, and then when you speak, I think it'll pop it up on the video speaker view. So thank you so much for being here, and I just wanted to have a short conversation about your journey and your experience thus far. And I just wanted to start with, where were you before we met? About that.
When I found Jenna, when I created her into my life, I was really lost and living in fight or flight and fear and worry and anxiety. And I had so many masks just to get through my day. I'd put on a brave face and really just get through the day, totally in survival mode.
Yeah. Right. Ego heaven. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You had, you know, I know you had come through so much, some hardships, right? And that really rocked your identity of who you are.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, at the time, I didn't realize how unaware I was that I wasn't living the life that I really wanted to be in. I mean, I knew it, but I felt trapped inside my choices and did not know that I could actually get out of them. Like, I felt like I had to be in those choices.
Yeah.
Because that's what I decided to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And I felt really stuck in my life.
I've been there for sure. And I'm sure many of those watching have. And so we can be in that place that you just shared, right? And then stay there. So what had you take the action to even seek out help or, you know, some kind of coaching or what have you?
I actually was in that place for a couple of years before I was to the point where I was like, okay, it's time for me to put on my big girl panties and really to start delving into why I feel like this and how I can get out of this survival mode, because I didn't feel like I was living my life like I was really supposed to be living it.
Yeah, got it. So the awareness was first, and
Yes.
there was a clarity of this isn't it, and I want something different. The desire.
Yes. And interestingly enough, it was probably more at that time that I didn't want my daughters growing up feeling like I did.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Did you feel like they weren't getting the best of you?
Oh no. I lived in reactionary. Like I mean, I just reacted my whole day. I was just react. And working, like I was busy, you know, I'm so busy. I was all about achieving and production, and then when I didn't get done what I wanted to get done, I would react, and then I'd react on them and react on my husband and just beat myself up, and it was just miserable. It was really miserable.
Yeah, got it. Got it. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. And so, you know, we have been in the space together. How long? 21.
3 years.
3 years
3
now.
years.
Which is so, I'm like, wow, like how fast it goes, right? And so in that time, what do you feel, like, where are you now?
I feel like I am the person that God put me here to be. I feel like I finally am the real Leah, not the one who I had to be or thought I had to be for other people. Or the one so, you know, achieving or people pleasing, or just so many of the masks. I wasn't the doctor everybody needed me to be. I wasn't the mom I feel the mom I needed to be for my kids. And now I'm like, you know, I have to love and care for myself and hone in on what is really meant for me in my life, and the rest of the cards will play out.
Yeah.
And that actually feels really good, and I don't feel guilty about it anymore.
I love that. I love that, you know, and I'm a witness to you doing tremendous amount of work on uncovering the masks, right? Like what are the masks? What is in the way? And then just watching you really turn on the observer, right? On a daily basis, you're observing self. You're observing what you're thinking. You're observing your actions. You're reflecting on what's happening. You're reflecting what you're creating. Tell the story a little bit. I love this part of, because it's already shifted. Like it shifted so quickly when we became aware of it. Is when you were in the everything's broken pattern, the dominoes. Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
yes,
so
like I felt broken. Like my daughter backed into our retail barn, and then my daughters broke the window in our bedroom, and then we had just had a new sign put up for our business, and it blew over in a storm. And our employees at the farm, they like wrecked a truck and a tractor, and it was just like everything, and it was like all in 2 months time. And
yes,
it was
very quick.
just, it felt like so much was broken. And you know, in looking at that, like that was a major turning point for me, because that was when I realized that I was broken and very misaligned with what I really wanted. And that's kind of when everything started to kind of turn the corner for me.
Yeah.
When we really started to hone in on why I felt broken.
Right. Yeah, you felt broken, right? You're not broken. But yes, the ego says, I am broken, right? I am not okay in some way. And I was like, wow, everything's breaking around you. And so if you see you know, when you look at your life and you see the dominoes, the evidence, it's like evidence being, you know, present so that you can maintain an experience over and over. Now, did you find yourself blaming the circumstance, or your daughter drove into to the side of the building? I mean, it was a mess. Like I remember the picture, But it's like, did you blame the circumstance, or did you find yourself, like, how were you at the beginning of that when you first saw all the things happening? You remember?
Yeah, I knew that I didn't need to vomit react all over her. So I knew I could catch myself like in that, like, I need to not go out there because I need to stop that reaction. I wasn't real sure how to do it at that point, but I need to stop it. Yes.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to come if I didn't put myself in a different mindset.
Yeah.
So I started really recognizing how the reaction or what was going to trigger me or activate me, and kind of try and make the activation stop.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and I love that you were in the practice of observing self, right? And being able to respond differently. Like you said, you didn't run out there like most of our egos would be like, oh my God, you know, and take off. However, this circumstance was created in your consciousness. These broken circumstances was showing something for you. And then notice, I don't know, I mean, how long ago was that? And it's like, I don't even think you've had any of that go on once you healed it.
That was last year.
Yeah, it's like a year ago.
Seems like it was a long time ago, but that was about a year ago, like this next week.
Yeah.
All of it started. So
yeah, interesting, right? So I just thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. I think it speaks to the dominoes. It speaks to sometimes when the dominoes have momentum and we don't have something or someone to look at the pattern from the outside and go, do you see this? Because I know when we talked about it initially, it was like, why is this all happening? And so it was like, oh my gosh, look at the pattern, right? See the pattern.
Yeah.
That's what's getting created. There's an origin pattern being commanded, right? The command in the system is like, keep breaking things, you know, so that I can maintain my belief that I'm broken in some way. So we healed that, right? And now there's much less of that happening in my awareness as far as what you've shared with me. And so now that you're here in this moment, what is it that you are in the container that we have together? What are you creating next?
I am really creating flow, peace, and joy. And just looking for all of those simple treasures every day.
Yeah.
Love that. And there is a wealth consciousness that I know is following that. So through, you know, I am trying to release the money scarcity portion.
Yes.
I know I still have layers of that onion to peel, but I know through me being aligned with my true identity or the true person that I'm meant to be here, and moving forward with that plan that, you know, I don't even know, that all of that, you know, the wealth, not just the money, but the wealth, the mindset, and the money, and the just living each day is going to flow to me.
Yeah. With ease.
Because I am the ocean. I mean, like, that is kind of my mantra, especially when I get to a place that I don't know how to navigate what I'm feeling.
Yes.
That I am the ocean, the powerful infinite being.
Yes.
That is creating all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I'm just so blessed to be able to witness your journey and everyone else that, you know, is in our container with us. It's just like a magical blessing for me to be able to just be a part of it. And
so, you know, there's one thing else that I would like to share. So lately, I have had a lot of family members that have been having medical problems, and you posed the question to me, like, why do you feel like this is happening? And in the past, I would have felt like I had to fix it for them. Like I had to go and figure out what was going on and help them with the next step and have to do that for them. And all of that has come to me. And even with my husband's recent surgery, all of that has come to me and realized that I don't have to fix it for them. Like they need to fix it. I can be here to love and support, but I don't have to be the one to fix it because they are the ones that need to fix it. And that has been that type of being able to step back and witness that. I mean, you were very good at pointing that out to me. Like, why do you think that that's happening right now? Because I've had like 4 family members in the hospital in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
And that has been transformational for me. Like, I can't, like, life-changing.
Wow.
That I can just be me and live my life with love and support of other people.
Wow. Yeah, the doctor in you, right? I know how to do this. I know how to fix it, right? It's a powerful pattern that you just disrupted. And
Yes.
I'm really, really excited. I mean, this is a new one, right, that we just saw. So even your son, right?
Oh, right. I even forgot about him.
Yeah, he like cut his hand or something, had to go get a wrap on it.
Yes.
Little things, right? Like we even, it's like, and I think we even talked that day. It's like, what is it? Why is this? Is he creating this or me? I'm like, both.
Yeah.
Both are creating this experience. And you're moving through them so much more eloquently and open. And I just really am honored to be able to support you through it all. So thank you, Leah, for being here. Give her a little love in the chat, but I appreciate you showing up today. That's awesome. Yes, round of applause.
Well, Jenna, I just want to say that I am so grateful for all of your help and support and love through my journey. I really don't know if I would have had the outcome that I have had without your guidance and flow. So thank you for being open and honest and real. You are truly a treasure in my life.
Thank you. Love you. I receive. Yeah, you too, girl. You too. Thank you. I forgot to bring tissues. Thank you, Leah. Yeah.
You are most welcome.
Yeah, 1 second. And that's what it's all about. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I see your tears too. Yeah, it's just like so magical to be our consciousness coming together, right? We're all one. We're all the ocean. And for me to be able to see myself in you, in the individuals on this call, in my containers, great. If you choose that, awesome. If not, it's just like the ability to serve at this high level of passing this on to as many people as possible so they can hear it, so they can see something new. And like all of you are just an aspect of me and I'm an aspect of you. And it's just like, it just feels so good to stay connected in that way, that we're all just part of the ocean. And I love it. So we get to choose the game we play and how we play it. We get to create it day by day, moment by moment. And if this calls to you, if being closer to our version of the ocean with Leah, and there's certainly a handful of other clients here and co-creators. I don't even like the word client. Like we're co-creators. If you want to be a part of that in a bigger way, then the container that I created was called the Ego Shift Experience, because it truly is about shifting out of all the ego that we live our lives in so that we can show up in our essence and fully embrace who we're meant to be and who we already were and are, right? It's a return to home. And so that ego shift experience looks like a 1-year membership. And it's collective. It's got collective calls semi-monthly. It has, if anybody, I'll make sure I put it in the email, but the BraveU app I have on the Apple iPhone is houses the course, right? So you have course videos and activities and exercises that help you embody this work and to unpack what's in your way, basically. And then of course we have, you know, impromptu classes and such and conversations inside of that container as well. And that container is just continuing to expand. Now, some of the individuals here have also chosen, like I mentioned, to rise to the next level, which includes unlimited Voxer coaching access to me 24/7. And also semi-monthly private conversations, private coaching, and that's called the Masters. So if you're interested in the ego shift, I will, it's 1111, my numbers, 1111 a month, right? $1,111 a month for 12 months, or you can pay in full for $11,111, right? 11,111. And that is the ego shift experience for the 1 year. And I'm going to type in the links here real quick. If you have, if that calls to you, those are the links that you register. The top one being the 111 is the monthly installment. And then the other one is the pay in full. The pay in full gets a bonus of actually a private one-on-one power activation call with me, so that you move into the container even more clear on what it is that you're creating. We break through some of the blocks and get you on your way. So that is bonused with the pay in full option. If you are interested in the Masters, which is more of the private, or you are like, I don't know which one's for me, I'd actually welcome a conversation. Let's just get on Zoom and have a kind of a discovery session. And that is, you can access my calendar here at now.bravemasters.com. And let's figure it out. Let's see if we're a good fit, if it makes sense to you, and which level of participation makes sense for where you are. And that may be the best choice for you for now, is to get on the calendar and we figure that out together. So it's very simple. I don't complicate things to be in my world, right? I obviously am excited to start to offer more of these free transmissions and these masterclasses to as many people as possible, because ultimately my purpose and my goal is to raise the consciousness globally. And I do that one person at a time, because every person I impact, just like you guys here watching and being, is the ripple effect. So I know that ultimately, if one of you, like, notice how Leah has shared her story, and I know for 100%, 1,000% of fact that who she has become is impacting her family's life. Her children, she's got 3 children, like night and day. The way that she shows up with her as a mom, the way that she shows up as a wife, right? And so my point is that however you participate, however you hang out with me or the individuals here, there is a ripple effect in you raising your consciousness. When you do you, when you focus on you, the ocean feels it. The algorithm gets louder, right? It starts to speed up, and you attract more, and you help more, and you serve more. And that's my commitment. And whether it's this container, or you guys step in and join the family that we have in the ego shift container, whatever it looks like, it's just what's calling you to rise up higher. And that's my challenge for you, is can you get out of ego enough to actually express who you really are in the world, fully, without hesitation, without the egoic self that says you can't, and to choose the next phase of your life. It doesn't matter what you have left in life on this physical plane. It's just how you choose to live it. And that's the opportunity. That's the invitation I have for you. And if you want to learn more, if you have questions, if you know, any of it, please don't hesitate. I will just be transparent and share with you whatever it is that you need to know. And then you choose from there. And always remember, every choice, every action, every decision, every thought is coming from two places, one or the other. It's either coming from ego, the fears, the doubts, the can I's, I can't do that, whatever, can't afford it. Don't, that's not for me. All right. Right. Ego, or essence. Like, I know this is meant for me. And now I just need to take inspired action. And this is true for anything, right? Just where are you coming from is the first question you can ask yourself. Is this thought? Is this action? Is this idea? Is it coming from ego, or is it coming from essence? And that will lead you so much farther than you were yesterday, right? It's like, if we can just start asking that question, we'll moving in the right direction. So I love you, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Yes, I know you got to go. Thank you very much. And so in closing, I would love to know, what is your biggest takeaway from this entire experience here on the masterclass? And if you have any questions, you can also ask those real quick, and I'm happy to answer. Your takeaway or your inquiry. And you can open up if you prefer, if it's easier just to share it.
I already shared it, but it's just the concept of looking at it differently with different possibilities. Because I've been telling myself so long that it's like, I'm good at making money. I'm good at being a business owner. This real sense of independence. I don't know what that means otherwise.
Right. Got it. So you're in the space of like, what if I just
it makes me uncomfortable?
Yes. I'm good at that, by the way.
Yeah.
You've been with me for how many years now? Like, you know that.
7
years. I love it. Right. I'm all about making uncomfortableness. Yeah. So just step into possibilities, like really start leaning into like, what if I had 360 degrees, like everything available, everything. And many times we can't even remember, we don't even know what else is possible, because we don't have the entire infinity available to our consciousness right in the moment. But it's like, what if everything was possible? Then how would I move? How would I navigate life? Right. So love that. Really good one. That'll start cracking you open. That can move you right into your quantum leap. It's just to start there. Like, what is possible? Maggie says, patterns can fall like dominoes and cause disruption. We have the power to disrupt the pattern. Yes, you do. I love that. I can claim all I desire now. Yes. Maggie, how do you feel since yesterday? Have you noticed a shift? I know
I had a very powerful meditation last night, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief around my father, who is 97 and living in assisted living. And there's been a shift in our relationship, which was difficult most of my adult life. And I actually am happy to see him, and he's just my dad now, and not all these old stories.
Yes.
Which was a tremendous breakthrough. But last night I was just feeling like I needed to see him more often. And I had thought about buying a wheelchair access vehicle so that we could take him out more. He's pretty much he's wheelchair bound. He does do physical therapy. We pay for that private pay. So long story, wasn't able to complete rehab, COVID, hospital, isolation, all that stuff, which I guess I participated in creating that lovely scenario.
It's showing up, and he's creating, you're creating. Yeah.
And but I thought about getting this wheelchair access vehicle, and I had thought of it before, but it just came to me again that it would allow him to come to my performance, which there's public transportation that will come during the week, during the day for doctor's appointments and almost to go anywhere, but not everywhere and not all times. And this would give us the freedom, and then you can come to my shows, which are of course always on a Friday night or Saturday night or Sunday.
Does he desire that? Is that his desire to come see you?
Oh yeah, and he had been coming. He had been coming as long as we were able to get him there, but he's just a dead weight, and we can't get him into a car. So so that was and my grandson who lives with me now, doesn't have a vehicle and comes to see Dad a couple times a week. And
Can I pause?
I was like, wait a minute.
Can I interrupt for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Disrupt. So the story's beautiful. Can you just be in the inspired action called Get the Car?
Yeah.
Get the car. Get the car. And then let all that other stuff go. Like, let it all just handle itself. He comes, he doesn't come, he shows up.
Yeah. That's all fine. I mean, it just seemed how perfect it would probably help my grandson, because then he could get around. I mean, it was like, it felt like it was falling into place.
And my offer to that is that we start to look at all the why it's justified, meaning like, oh, it would help him and help him and help. Right. That's what I was referring to, is just like, wow, yes, and not required. Just get the car. Just get the car. You had such an opening last night with, and I love that you healed some of that emotion and that the attachments and the stories. And now it's just like the action is just go get the car. Anything else that happens because of it, bonus. Yes, I love it. I love it. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for being open to that. And I'm just really grateful for your presence in this experience and being here with me. So thank you, Maggie.
It's been wonderful. Thank you all.
Yes.
For your shares today. And yeah.
Yeah, you too. Like that was huge. That was huge. Awesome. Thank you, my friend. And Leah says, my identity, ease, flow, and magic. Yes, yes. And I love the last statement. Consciousness is unlimited. It really is infinite. It truly is. So thank you very much. I feel so honored to be here with you all. And if you have any questions or comments or takeaways or things that show up afterwards, I would love to hear them. So just reach out and we'll see you in the next masterclass. I believe I feel called to have another one. So stay tuned for more. All right, my friends, love you guys and have a blessed day. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.